So if you don't know, all the excitement of Alpha has come to end. And your boy never got an invite. Evidently, I'm just a Smurf streamer who moonlights on Moonguard. That's what I've come to. That's the decision that Blizzard has come to when it comes to Samiccus. But that doesn't mean we can't review all the things that were discovered here. The war within Alpha is over, and a lot is going down. Let's see what Bellular has to say.
Welcome back to the news. So, we've got a freshly released content patch and all the ups and downs that come with that, a game-changing event this week in Mop Remix, and the final zone update of Alpha, as well as Blizzard's parent company jumping onto their own grenade. There's a hell of a lot to get into. The first thing we're going to do, though, is Darkart, and a big thanks to our members over at Bellular.games for making all this possible. Over there, they get access to our content early and ad-free, the Lore Walking podcast, and a bunch of other stuff. So, you can check that out at the link below. And with that said, the Darkart patch. Darkart then, it's our last content update before the pre-patch, and I think it's pretty good. The actual main...
Honestly, this is the first time Blizzard's ever done this, but this felt like a pre-patch to the pre-patch. This is a pre-pre-patch. I've said it before, but the storyline and everything was really nice. It was not very long, but it did leave you kind of open to that, ooh, I want more from the War Within. That's how I felt after playing it.
In quest line was definitely the shorter side, but it was jammed full of things to read. Lots of teases for what's to come.
A lot of cool
I think the
transmog
performances were great. Locust
right.
Walker is a real fun character. I just like how sort of intimidating he feels, and the Void Ante is being turned way up. Now, if you want more of a proper lore breakdown, like I did a full video of that a few days ago. Now, some other parts were a little bit more broken. There was an issue where the group finder was fixed by, no kidding, turning the mature language filter on, and just a bunch of miscellaneous bugs, but the good news is those are mostly all sorted now. Warlocks, though, really took the cake, so they were discovered to have been broken, then they weren't, and then they were actually accidentally fixed. It's weird.
Is it news for Warlocks to be broken? I feel like they're always broken. They're always freaking broken. They're always like top DPS, top utility, and somebody at Blizzard just absolutely loves Warlock balls in their mouth.
So the Inferno talent was supposed to generate a lot fewer soul shards, but it's actually been broken, and it's been way stronger than intended since Shadowlands Season 4. Weird. So they fixed that, but then they realized that they kind of needed to revert the fix because, well, all of the tuning, the gameplay, it was all built upon the bug. So in fixing the bug, they were inadvertently kind of being the fun police. Certainly one of the weirder bugs we've had. Anyway, the next thing was bullions. So basically, the patch kind of broke them. If you looted the 2 bullion from the weekly dungeon quest, which by the way is huge, that's just straight up a free bit of gear that's really, really good. But if you looted that from the dungeon quest, then you wouldn't be able to loot your usual one. The good news is that's now fixed. And speaking of fixes, soloing BFA Mythic raids. A lot of minor changes to old BFA raids have came in. And
yeah, we talked about this. They even made changes to Nazath, so you can solo him as well. So yeah, you can get in and get those done now.
Way easier to solo them. That combined with Season 4 gear being strong just means like, yeah, you can go mad. You can farm out those transmogs. And there was initially a problem with Mythic Nazath and Mythic Cahoon, but the good news is those have been hotfixed. So basically,
I'll be honest though, BFA in terms of transmog is probably one of my least favorites. I still think that those tier sets missed. A couple of things just weren't very good in it. It was okay.
Have at it. Next then, we've got Mob Remix.
Legion
the global release is Thursday, 10 AM PDT, which is about half an hour before my guild's regularly scheduled raid time, so I don't think any of us will be attending. If you want a reminder on how the gameplay will be going down, you can check out the video we made about that a little while ago. Otherwise, there's really no way to prepare for it. I mean, you could perhaps make a blank character to reserve your name. That's pretty much it. Of course, though, you'll need to delete that and then remake the character when this launches, because unfortunately this is only doable on a new character. I do understand that technically, but yeah, it's probably the one big point of criticism that could be leveled at it. Anyway, once you've done all that, one thing I would recommend is installing the Narcissus add-on, because Peter has been working on an amazing UI for getting all of your Mop Remix gems in order, so that should be really nice for when you're actually...
If you're wondering what these are, they're basically like overpowered abilities. They're like anima powers. I hate to use that comparison, but that's what they are. And this, I guess this add-on helps you organize them.
Playing it. The next thing then is some Darkart content, because 1027 also brought in very long-awaited Heritage Armor quests. And the good news is they're actually really good.
You make a new tune, Orcmondo. This is all about leveling alts, so you're just gonna make a new tune.
Especially the Draenei one. It is absolutely excellent. It's definitely worth your time. The Orc Heritage quest, though, that kind of blew people's expectations out of the water, and this one has absolutely done that again. It is clearly a massive labor of love. There is tons of real well-written dialogue, lots of optional stuff if you want to just delve into more details. It's basically everything you could hope for a Draenei Heritage Armor quest. It's great. And it also doesn't get bogged down in just pure emotion and dialogue, though. There's plenty of action, it's well-paced, there's a good little bit of background drama going on as well. Of course, no spoilers for today's video, but it's interesting stuff. Some of it, I think, could be kind of big, and we'll cover it in the future. As for the trolls, it is shorter, which is not as ideal, but I am actually hearing pretty good things. And that means that an overall, narrative perspective, well, the Darkart patch has basically been one big win. Which, for real, we've had a mixed time with the narrative over the last few years.
Honestly, I could say for the, 100%, the transition into the War Within storyline has been a win. It's much better than what we got in Dragonflight. It feels much darker, feels more ominous, feels more threatening than anything that we got in Dragonflight. Dragonflight just felt like, we're all going to hold hands and make s'mores under Dragonfire. Like, that, it just felt very friendly, nice. Iridikron was a looming threat, but he never seemed to actually be something that was going to come get us. He just seemed to be planning and doing shit on his own, and he was going to become a threat later on. So the War Within certainly is a nice transition and is a refreshing storyline when it comes to the difference between that and Dragonflight.
It's nice to see something that's just really damn good. And thankfully, that's continuing into the new expansion. The War Within has received its 4th alpha build. It's got cool stuff. The new Shaman Stormbringer tree is a lot of fun. It's just lightning everywhere, but Warlocks continue to be upset. The class rework honestly just feels like less mobility and less fun, and the TLDR is that Dreadstalkers no longer guarantee cores for demo, and Destro is losing their Blasphemy Infernal summon, which honestly kinda sucks. The feedback is essentially all negative about that, so I mean, at least they got their new tier set appearance update, which is nice. People are raving about that. But
yeah, well, the shoulders are nice, but damn it, that sports bra, I don't know how anybody's going to actually use that thing. That's horrible.
Yeah, I think they need to reconsider some of what they're doing with the Warlock class. I can totally understand from a design perspective why they want some of those limitations, but ultimately, it just feels less fun. Now, the other specs getting their changes were Rogues, Brewmasters, and Unholy DKs, while Fire Mage got some nice targeted tweaks. So Rogues are mostly getting cleaned up, with things like Serrated Bone Spike becoming a passive that's applied by Rupture, Sepsis being removed, Shadow Dance now only being available to Subtlety, and some other things like that. Some obvious improvements, some things that will feel a bit like a nerf, you know the drill. Now, the good news is that their hero talents are due some fixes and improvements based on feedback, things like the Trickster moving away from using Feint, so that's definitely a positive. Brewmasters then get what looks to be some nice updates to just smooth out their damage intake with more Stagger and Purify, as well as Healing Elixir and Bone Dust Brew being replaced. Unholy DK then gets a whole bunch of stuff actually. Army is now a 3-minute cooldown instead of being 8 minutes, but relying on a cooldown reduction. Gargoyle is getting a passive choice talent to offer a smoother damage profile for dungeons if you want that, while most of their other CDs like Apocalypse and Dark...
Unholy, by the way, sounds now like a demonology warlock. They're just summoning armies of Unholy, which is kind of the fantasy that you've always wanted to live out with Unholy anyways. But the whole thing with Unholy, and then if you play the Rider of the Apocalypse as well, and you're summoning the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse, that just sounds like you're literally going to have an army of undead at your back, which actually sounds freaking amazing.
Transformation are being standardized at 45 seconds. And one last thing in classes, Rat's new talent to proc Wings whenever they use Wake of Ashes just feels amazing to play, so that's really cool. And a little small thing, monks are getting Glyph of Jab so they can actually Tiger Palm with their weapons again. So yeah, that's pretty nice. That, yeah. Okay, zones then, the overall situation with Alpha. So here's the deal. Azj-Kahet is in, and that basically means that our 4 big zones are there. There's quite a lot to talk about. I don't want to go too much into, or really into any spoiler details here. That's not really what the news is for, but I will talk about just overall, the vibes, how things are feeling.
It's freaking beautiful.
The zones...
It's everything I've ever wanted out of a Nerubian city. essentially. I love this freaking zone. Now, if I had to pick a favorite from all the zones, I love the Isle of Dorn in total. I do. I love the aesthetic of it. I mean, it's literally my wallpaper. I can't get enough of this aesthetic. It's so nice. And I don't even play Dwarf, but I just like the Dwarf aesthetic. But I have to say Halifal. Halifal takes the W. It's the nicest looking zone by far. But I do love the Nerubian look.
Overall, are really, really good, I would say. One thing I certainly notice is just scale, size. Like, these zones are absolutely goddamn humongous. So, yes,
awesome.
It's only 4 zones, and that is fewer zones than, say, what we got in Wrath of the Lich King, but my god, they are humongous. And that does mean that just the level of scope, the sort of sense of adventure and fantasy, it is just pushed really, really far in this expansion. And that's not me just saying, oh, it's really big, wow, size. No, it is the fantasy, right? Like, the design of the zones is great. The level of fantasy is just being pushed forward and forward and forward. Taking a look at somewhere like, say, Azj-Kahet is real impressive. Azj-Kahet, honestly, it does feel like a Suramar. Now, there are some very obvious, really? I'd say almost callbacks to Suramar.
Comparing to something to Suramar is a big take, because I think Suramar was probably the most city-like city we've ever gotten in WoW. It was freaking gorgeous, the amount of NPCs in it. It felt like an actual lived-in city, like a functionally lived-in city. I loved Suramar. I loved questing there, the music, everything about it, man. Suramar was great, honestly. So if he's comparing it to that, that's a high standard to reach.
I mean, there's a very overt one with the guards basically, you know, doing some barks that are callbacks. But with Azj-Kahet, basically, you have the overall zone, which is massive. And then there's the city itself, which is also massive, and certainly it would remind you of Suramar. There are friendly Nerubians there, mixed, neutral Nerubians, angry Nerubians, because instead of just all being a bunch of bad guys, the Nerubians are basically a full-blown civilization. So that stuff is real impressive. The dungeons are continuing to be quite strong, I would say.
Nice,
certainly,
yeah. Well, we reviewed these dungeons just yesterday, and they were pretty fun to look at, and a lot of crazy new mechanics.
I think is it City of Threads? It's definitely feeling a little bit long, but overall, like, the very positive trend is still continuing there. So, as compared to, say, Dragonflight, well, Dragonflight was very much giving you things we'd seen before, right? Certainly done, you know, like, done to an impressive level, yes, but fundamentally, some things we'd seen before, like, say, Azure Span being kind of like a pan-Northrend. I think the most unique thing that Dragonflight probably did was the Waking Shores zone, which I really did like.
Yeah,
Here,
agree.
though, I think the Isle of Dorn is definitely the most traditional one. Halifal does really blow you away with spectacle.
Oh my god, look at that. Oh, the visuals of Halifal are amazing.
The ring.
And you guys are talking about Nagrand, man. Yeah, the music, the sky. Yeah, Nagrand gave me feelings. All right, it was one of my favorite zones ever put into the game, and I'm hoping Halifal does give me that same feeling. One thing we have not heard yet is the music from any of these zones yet, or any of the War Within content, and that is a huge. Basically, you know, it fills in that final gap to really make a zone feel immersive. So we'll have to see what the music sounds like in Halifal.
Deeps doesn't really blow you away as much, but I think just the deep integration of the earthen technology, I think that just looks really cool. And again, it feels massive. You know, it feels massive in the way of that sense of scale from the start of, say, Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers, right? Where, you know, Gandalf the Balrog are falling down, you know, below Khazad-dûm, and they, you know, just kind of goes to the big cave, and the sense of scale is just absolutely, you know, it's impressive.
Oh, yeah.
It feels real high fantasy. That is happening here. So I think that's just good. I suppose there's
damn, look at that giant candle boss down there. Holy crap, that thing's huge.
Just a wow factor to it all. The other thing then is story. So definitely we're looking at shorter campaigns compared to, like, some of the, you know, the long past of the game. That being said, well, me and Matt were talking about it on stream, and ultimately the conclusion we came to is this is better than anything that we've seen, we think, since Warlords of Draenor.
Damn.
Now, I don't think that WoD can be topped.
Look, Warlords, when he says that, probably like, what is he talking about? Warlords? That was a horror. Warlords opening questline, and I've said this before many times, opening questline and storyline to start Warlords was amazing. If you don't remember, like, the hype of WoD was real. the population of World of Warcraft in general had shot through the roof in preparation for WoD. It was like the hype was at an all-time high, and then that opening series of quest lines and the storyline, the formation of the Iron Horde and everything like that, it was awesome. The whole storyline was really cool. Running down the path, the army chasing you and blasting everything. That whole thing was a lot of fun. So if he's comparing it to that, that means we're going to have some pretty fun opening quest lines.
For just like a linear campaign perspective, it was really strong.
It had very good leveling. WoD's main mistake was it had no content at the end. We freaking sat for like a year with doing nothing.
It does definitely feel like it's 4 separate zones, but they are tied together better than really any of the recent previous expansions. A lot of the format is basically you and the sort of gang of big name heroes kind of going on a big quest together. It works quite well. The side quests are also quite good. So really it does look like you're just going to have a pretty good adventure. It's absolutely, I'd say, a step up over Dragonflight. It's obviously better than Shadowlands. I would definitely say at this stage is better than BFA, and honestly better than Legion, because Legion was just, hey, go get the Pillars of Creation. That's what you did, right?
True.
Just getting some MacGuffins. Here it definitely feels much better. So we're at the end of the alpha now. Beta will presumably happen maybe this week. It could be next week or the week after, but the zones are there, and that basically means it's time for endgame testing. So, big picture, I'm feeling real good about War Within. Then the final story of today probably doesn't matter to WoW at all, but it does involve Blizzard's new corporate owners. And that's why I think you should know about it.
Oh yeah, they're axing
Xbox has been under serious fire very recently for closing 4 Bethesda Studios. The most notable 2 are Tango Gameworks, a Japanese studio recently made famous for the incredible Hi-Fi Rush, and Arcane Austin, known for Prey, which is fantastic, and Redfall, which was less fantastic. Long story short, Xbox have a lot of expenses, and they are basically just cutting costs if something, doesn't have like a
big... the games industry is just getting slaughtered across the board. All these companies are just cutting people left and right. It's pretty crazy.
Safe project, they're just cutting those things. So yeah, they've basically cut a bunch of Bethesda studios that were in the pitching stages rather than being in the middle of development, and that just sucks, especially with Hi-Fi Rush, because it's like, hey, you made a brilliant game that, according to Xbox, performed fantastically, and your reward is being shut down. That definitely is rough, and I think it won't have a notable impact in something like Blizzard or World of Warcraft, because WoW is very much a safe bet product, but it will be bad for morale and trust across the group, and that is relevant to us. If you want more info, check out our news channel. But anyway, that is it for me. That's it for the news. Now you're caught up to date. If you want to go and check out something great, take a look at this video on the upcoming dungeons, because man, some of them go pretty hard.
They're good dungeons.
Yeah, it's kind of exciting. So I'll see you over there. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.
Yeah, great video. I wonder how much is being influenced by the progress of AI. Maybe some, but I think there's also this whole thing of the games industry, if you don't remember, has been exponentially growing for years now. And I think it just reached a point where like that bubble burst, because now we're seeing AAA titles that are losing tons of money. I mean, if you don't remember, there was a time in the games industry where really like nobody was losing money. You could pump shit games out and just make a shit ton of money. And I think that bubble has somewhat burst, not too long ago. And now there's like a whole, realignment, right? It's like we kind of grew too fast, too much, and now we're gonna, bring things back down. So it's probably that in combination with AI, because I'm sure AI, there's just gonna be some jobs that aren't needed anymore. Or, one person can do more than what one person used to be able to do with AI too. Sam, Google GTA 6 budget real quick. Oh my god, GTA 6? That game's gonna make money. I don't care if they're spending a freaking $1 billion. Yeah, $2 billion. Like, I honestly expected it. I expected it. $2 billion, they're gonna make their money back. I don't doubt it. That game is gonna freaking be everywhere, all the time, everything. I'm even gonna play it. Shit, I like GTA. Yeah, but great video from Bell. We'll have to see more later on.